We're at the Peaks View parking lot. It's 3:43 p.m. Saturday, August 3rd. Looking at the peaks. Those are some of the pinnacles. And I'm trying to scout out locations to shoot some stars, specifically the Milky Way tonight. Looks like clear skies. Unfortunately, I don't think I can get the Milky Way over these peaks from this location because we are facing about 218 degrees, so we're facing west and we need to be looking southeast. So we will scout some more spots. We've been in Pinnacles National Park for a little bit now, scoping out the areas, been going to different parking lots, trying to see if we can get a view to the southeast. So right now we're over by the Nature Center, and if you look at my compass right here on this watch, this is about like 72 degrees or so. So according to that compass from my watch, and according to this mechanical one, which is off a little bit because it's picking up the metal from the watch.
And then the car.
I was going to say the car mirror is like looking southeast. That's what we did in Sequoia. We looked at the car southeast.
Yep.
And then what I'm doing is I'm running photo pills, the night AR section, and it uses the camera. Now, you can see here, I've got my hand covering up the camera because otherwise you're going to see all the trees. And we're sitting in the car because it's cooler and it's darker to be able to see all these things. And you can see the Milky Way right there. See? You can see the east mark on the upper left-hand side of the screen. See there? Mm-hmm. So it's 5:10 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time right now. And so the Milky Way would be below the horizon, and it'll be up later around 10:30 tonight. The reason why this is important is because we want to get an idea when we go to the location where we might take pictures what it's going to look like, because southeast is where the Milky Way core is. We've been to like 3 or 4 spots now, and we don't get a really good vantage point of some type of composition like landmarks or the pinnacles themselves, any peaks or something really interesting to have the Milky Way coming up over. But we might have to just go with it. If we're able to get up the road to the gulch, the Bear Gulch, we can hike up there and get over the trees. And if we hike up about a mile and go up, we can get to this little tiny reservoir, which would be really cool because then we could walk around the reservoir where there's a trail and orient the camera towards southeast and look and try and get the pinnacles in the picture. We could have gone to the west side of the park, which you can't get to the east from the west, and that might have been better to be able to look southeast, but there's more places to scope here on this eastern side of the park, and plus over there might have been some fog coming in from the coast, so the west side can be more foggy. Now, here's something I want to show you. Take a look at my phone. This is the photo pills, right? And so what I did was I put a pin in the middle of the reservoir, that tiny reservoir up on the hill, and I set it for 10:18 p.m. on August the 3rd. When we get up there, the plan is to hike up there when it's cool, around sunset-ish, and looking toward the southeast, you'll be able to see the Milky Way core. You can see it right there. Right here is where it would be the best. We'd be coming up this way. We could walk around the reservoir and get a good vantage point. Now, the other thing that I have is I've got pinnacles here. This is the photographer's ephemeris. It looks kind of the same as the photo pills, but you can drag it along. Like, see the time? It says 10:14 p.m. If you drag it along here, see, like 9:18 p.m. See how the Milky Way is moving? The core is moving. So 11 o'clock, see, it's going east to west. See there? Mm-hmm. Around midnight, and then it's going to disappear. Whoop. Mm-hmm. So you won't be able to see it. So right here, I have it around 10:30. Because around 9 o'clock, it's going to start to show, 9 p.m. But you can't really see it until about 10:21-ish.
Okay.
So that's the photographer's ephemeris. So you can use that and the photo pills, and you can use stellarium to try and see where the stars are, and Sky Guide is another one.
Thank you, Jen. That really helps explain it.
So we've got the tent set up, and we're gonna go out and do a little bit more scoping. No point coming back here, not until we finish doing our star pictures. It's around sunset. We're on the Bear Gulch Trail, Pinnacles National Park. We elected to go around the cave rather than through it because we're going to be coming back after we do our star shots, and it's going to be very dark, and we would rather go up the same way we get back down and not go through the cave, even though it's not like a true cave. It's like really rocky, but we just want to be safe. So I've got my Photo Pills app right here, and see that peak there? We got the pond, and the Milky Way should be coming up over there like that.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see this or not.
Yep, I got it.
Okay, cool. I did take a few pictures of those peaks behind me. You don't have to swing there if you're going to lose focus. We're just waiting for the Milky Way to rise up. I'm starting to see a star. Just going to give you a quick rundown of the gear. Got a pack, a think tank, airport, something or other, which is not too bad. Fits under the seat. I've taken it on planes, not a problem. There are the two headlamps that I use. This one for the photography when I'm making camera settings and things like that, and then this one for hiking. See, this is really great. You can just up and down, red. Use the really bright one, the big one, for hiking, and this other one with the red for actually doing photography. That one, I go around my neck, and then the other one goes around my head. I've got an intervalometer. That's really key for doing star trails and things like that, and just using it as a shutter release is excellent as well. It's a Canon. Here's one of my lenses. This is a Sigma, and this is a 24 millimeter, and it's a 1.4, and I use a Stingray Astro photography filter to cut down on the light pollution. Here's the camera, 5D Mark IV, made by Canon. And then this is the lens I was predominantly using. It's a 1.8 and it's 14 millimeter. So it's kind of a fisheye. One thing I would really like to stress is when you're doing star photography, you want to focus on the stars. And so what you do is you go into live view mode on the Canon, start stop here, and then you can use this magnifying glass to zoom in. So zoom in on a star, and then I've got this Hoodman thing here. It's a hood, and so I put it on here, and then I look through it, and as I look through it, I can see it very well, and then I can adjust the manual focus. You always want to shoot manual focus when you're doing stars, and that makes it so much easier. I recently got this fabulous tripod. It's a beast. It's really right stuff with this huge BH40 ball head. It's awesome for Astro shooting. And then I had to get the right plates for the camera, like down here, so I could fit on that, because I was using Manfrotto before, which has different plates. And then I got this extra bracket. It comes as a set, so that way if I want to flip this camera vertical, then I can put it like that on the ball head. Anyway, that's it for the gear rundown. So I'm just going to show you a few snacks that I took along on the trip. So I have some snacks and meals from Nutrient Survival, and they are known as being a preparedness mine company. So their foods are used for, let's say there's an earthquake or a storm, you lose your power and your perishables eventually go bad, and you can have backup food that you can add water to, or things that you don't add water to. Well, on the hike, I took along things like the chocolate chip cookie and the chocolate crunch bar and the brain bar, which I really like. It gives me a boost even in my day job, and that brain bar is made out of fig and chocolate. So I put them in my computer bag when I'm on the go work-wise, and I like to carry them on airplanes. And these things have a lot of nutrition and they fill you up. They're like meal replacements, but in this case I was using them more as snacks, very nutritious ones. Okay, here we are, Pinnacles Park again, and this time it is Sunday the 4th of August, and last night, Saturday night, we did a Astro shoot, Milky Way. We did a hike up to the Bear Gulch, which was 500 feet elevation gain, about maybe 1.1 miles one way, and the level was rated as moderate. It turns out we did have to go through the cave just a little bit, at least not the whole thing. So we got up to this reservoir. We set up our tripods just in time for blue hour, and we just did some shooting there of the peaks with the reservoir in the foreground, and then a couple of pinnacles that were behind us looking more north. So we did some shots there, and then we drank lots of water and waited for the Milky Way to come up. So we shot the Milky Way that was over the peaks with the water in the foreground. It's a very, very, very small reservoir, and somehow the water goes back down into the cave. Not a lot, just a little bit. It was really hot yesterday. It was like maybe 100 degrees or so. It was much better later, and it was nice and cool last night for sleeping. But anyway, the photography settings, I was using the Canon 5D Mark IV, and I mostly used my Sigma 14 millimeter lens. It's kind of like a fisheye lens, so it gets a little bit distorted. It's a 1.4, I'd have to double check. I was shooting at, I'd say, ISO 3200. I tried some lower ones, 1600, but I got it down to 32. Not a lot of light here, really dark park, which is great. No moon. So 3200 ISO, and I set my f-stop to 2.0, and the reason for that is I didn't want to go all the way down to the low end. You want it a little bit higher, and the reason is because you get this coma in the stars. So you see these little tails. They look kind of funky, and sometimes you might see chromatic aberration and other weird things. So it's best not to have it be at the edge of the f-stop. And then rule of 500s, 500 divided by the focal length, in this case 14. So I was making my shots around 15 to 20 and sometimes 25 seconds depending on the ISO I was shooting at. And just make sure you get a good histogram. I do seconds bracketing, so I'm going to do 15 and 20 and 25. And so the technique I like to use with a high ISO 3200, first I take a picture, it's with the lens cover on, and then at the same settings I'll take maybe 12 shots with the lens cover off and doing some exposures of the Milky Way, and then I'll put the lens cover on and take another shot. And you're probably wondering, why am I doing that? Is because in post-processing, if I stack using something like Sequitur, which I use on a Windows machine, and I will do that and stack, and the idea is to reduce the noise. So we hiked back down in the dark. I was kind of dreading that, but we both had really powerful headlamps, so going through the cave for some reason was a lot better going down than going up. But once again, we didn't have to go through the big part of the cave where you kind of have to crawl on your hands and knees. I was not up for that. Tight spaces with this big backpack of photo gear and a tripod.
So Jennifer and I hiked to Grizzly Gulch Reservoir.
Bear Gulch
Reservoir. And we specifically did not want to hike through the cave because we knew we had to come back through that at night. So we picked a trail that went around the cave. Little did we know that the last part of that trail, you have to enter the cave and then exit the cave, and then you're at the reservoir. So that was a little bit tricky, but we did it. So anyway, I just took some pictures of sharp stars, the Milky Way, and then switched to video in the off chance that I could probably catch a meteor. I'm not sure if I did or not. I'll have to go back and check the footage.
And there were a few meteors that I saw last night, probably the precursor to the Perseid show.
Yeah. Jennifer always sees the meteors. I never see any meteor, it seems like.
Well,
I see them afterward.
I keep my eyes open for them, but the trick is I don't think I got any exposures of the meteors.
Yeah.
I mean,
out of frame, right.
I've gotten those before, but it's like you have to, unless you're planning for it and running your camera on your intervalometer for, every couple of seconds or so for at least an hour, maybe two.
Yeah.
You're really not going to get any, but I have gotten pictures before where I was taking a picture of the Milky Way or something, maybe star trails even, and I've gotten a meteor in the exposure, which is always a pleasant surprise. But I don't think so this time.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a good adventure. We made it through the cave, in the dead of night. And we had good headlamps, so that made it easier. And it wasn't as bad as we thought coming back out. We just had to take our time and go slow.
We're gonna pack up and go to Monterey and do something else. And we'll see you next time. Okay, we're home. It's always good to come home and get the photos uploaded to the NAS and into Lightroom, and then I can go through them and take a look and see how they came out. But no editing tonight. Too tired for that. We'll do that another time. Here we go, taking a look. It's always nice to come back from the field and just take a look at some of the photos. No editing, just nice to take a quick peek and just make sure they came out okay. Looks like I've got some stuff I can work with. Definitely.